wannabes and creators, and welcome back to The Business of Art, the podcast that attempts to demystify business for artists. And today, we have another live show for you. This one from Santa Clarita Valley Comic-Con, where I hosted a panel about how to make a career as an artist. Now, this panel is with JD Correa, Bobby Timony, and I also roped in Dave Ulbrich from Space Goat Productions. Now, JD is an awesome artist. He does a lot of prints, he does a lot of originals, he does a lot of sketch covers. Bobby works on a ton of stuff. He's drawn for The Simpsons, he's drawn for Monster Elementary, he's drawn all the things. And so their information is incredibly valuable. And then Dave has been a publisher, an editor, an all-around comic book guy since the 80s. So he was able to bring some insight on what people are looking for when they hire an artist, what he's seen about how to sustain an art career. And it really comes down and boils down to a couple things by the end. And I'm super excited that I was able to be the moderator for this panel. Before we get into the panel, I have a question for you. Do you like commercials? Of course not. Nobody likes commercials. That's why I created a premium version of The Business of Art. It is every hard lesson, every ranterlude, and every Kickstarter mini-season we did in the first 100 episodes of our show. And you can get it today for just $20 over at thebusinessofart.us/volume 1. That's 74 episodes, almost 9 hours of content, all commercial free. None of this BS. Just straight content. Content. Boom, 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 boom. It's pretty incredible. It's packed with value. It's worth way more than $20. But head on over to thebusinessofart.us/volume 1 and you can pick it up today for just $20. Help support the show, keep us going, and learn a whole crap ton about how to make a career as an artist and how to turn your art into a business. Okay, with that being said, let's get on with the show. Take it away, Bobby, JD, Dave, and me. Show us what you need to make a career as an artist. My goal in this is that by the end, we can help you cut a year off of your struggle. It's not a lot. It's a 10-year struggle, I think. I think like 10 years generally takes to like get to a place.
Yeah, overnight success takes about 10 years of preparation.
So we really want it to be 9. We'd love it if you could get there in 9. Yeah. So it's close. The weird thing while we're waiting for hopefully a couple more people to show up is, do you find that it all, like things started to snowball at once? And here's what I mean by that. Like, it feels like in the past year, all of the struggle that I've been banging my head against for the past year sort of opened, and there was like a light, like it seemed to focus instead of being everywhere and disparate.
You saw the light?
I did. I was blinded by it.
Did you go to it?
I did. I've been going to
it.
Not yet.
Dead the whole time?
That would be crazy, but who knows? So I feel like at some point it went from me doing a bunch of things to finally having like a focus, and it looked like the end. I don't know how long the end goal is, but I feel like the end goal is in sight.
End goal?
I do. I have a very specific end goal. Do you guys feel that way? Do you guys feel like at some point the process kind of narrowed, and you at least saw all of the struggle that you were doing kind of start paying off in a rapid succession? So before you introduce yourself, and then please answer that question.
Bobby?
Hi, my name is Bobby Timony. I'm an award-winning published artist. Yeah, I wonder what I was here. I worked on Monster Elementary with Space Goat Publishing. I've drawn a couple pages of Simpsons comics. I had my own comic published by DC called The Night Owls. And I've worked a lot in storyboards and some animation.
Okay, and do you feel like at some point it all started to come into focus, that you were kind of doing a lot of disparate things, or how did that?
I feel like I kind of had to force that focus on myself because I just have so many different things I want to work on. But drawing a comic book, it takes a lot of time, so you really have to pick and choose your projects very carefully. And I found I was having this trouble finishing things because I would get this new idea and you want to work on that instead. So as far as focus goes, that's kind of something I had to be like, that's a great idea, but I'm committed to this now, and I have to finish this. So
Was that just discipline that you found?
Yeah, it's just learning discipline. I mean, my first professional job as an artist was drawing storyboards for commercials, and I learned how to work very quickly in that environment because they will come down at 4 o'clock and they'll need 4 boards by 5. And they were sitting on that script all day, and they just only come down at 3, and they're like, well, we need it right now. So sometimes you have to sacrifice a little quality to get it out there, but I learned how to work quickly and meet deadlines, and I think that's a really important thing to do.
Absolutely. Okay. JD?
My name is JD Correa. Been drawing since I was 4 years old. Just recently finished up a a one-shot comic book deal called Witch vs. Genie. It's basically based on a witch and a genie that likes to fight back and forth every now and then. It's pretty whimsical. It's funny. As far as doing it, you have to be very committed. Just like Bobby said, you want to focus on it, but then you get these other ideas and you want to put them down, but you got to stay committed to the comic book that's at hand.
What do you think your best tip would be to stay focused that you've learned so far?
The best tip to stay focused, I would say, is just when you get the script, read it over again. Sometimes they'll send you multiple scripts. Just keep staying on the script, read it over again, fine tune it, do sketches every now and then. It doesn't have to be comic book related, but if it's, let's just say I don't know, Kermit the Frog, sketch Kermit the Frog every now and then. That'll help you stay motivated. That'll help you stay focused.
That's a good note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, at the end, so please introduce yourselves to the people that aren't here, and then we'll ask you a question too.
Okay. My name's Dave Olbrich. I've been in and around the professional side of comic books since 1982. That's a long, stupid time. I was the publisher at Malibu Comics. I was the director of publishing at Humanoids. I started the Will Eisner Awards. I was the first publisher at Image Comics. So I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of artists come and go. I've worked with hundreds of artists all over the world. And so I've seen their struggles, and I know that being a successful artist is at least 50% lifestyle, and certainly less than 50% talent.
So what do you think the number one thing that you've seen for someone that has the talent but still falls off that you've seen over the last 30 plus years?
Well, I think the most frustrating thing that I've seen is the artists that, at least from the publishing side, it looks like their approach to a paycheck is, oh good, this represents the number of days before I have to draw again.
Yeah, I've seen that with my sister.
So you send them a check for 30 pages worth of 20 pages worth of comic book story, and then you don't hear from them for 30 days. And it's like, okay, well now you've blown a deadline. I've had to hire somebody else. Now what are you going to do the next 30 days when the cash runs out?
Yeah.
So that's the most frustrating thing I see is money management and approaching the money management professionally as opposed to, but even some of the most talented guys in the world are guilty of that. Without naming names, we waited for 2 years for 6 pages from one of the biggest names in the business because we couldn't drag him away from his PlayStation.
Wow.
Yeah. So there used to be this. I wish
that wasn't a true story. He flew to France and sat in a room and played PlayStation for 6 months.
Wow.
Oh,
So there used to be this mantra that you had to be good, nice, and on time, and you only needed 2 of them. I find now that is no longer the case. You have to have all 3 in order to succeed. Dave, I'd like to start with you. Do you think that that's true, and how do you develop all 3 of those things at the same time, if it is true?
Well, always start by not being a jerk. All right, so that's always rule 1, because with the talent, with the competition so tight, why would I spend time with an artist that was disagreeable to spend time with when I've got 30 other guys I'd rather spend time with?
I think that's going to be hard for the jerks out there, though, right?
I do not
How do
care.
you turn that off?
I do not care about that.
Yeah.
Make adjustments. Make the necessary adjustments. If you're going to be a jerk, hide it so that I can't see it.
As a jerk, I can tell you that that was one of the hardest things. Like, so most people that are introverts, they say, oh, well, I could never do shows because, like, I can't pull myself out like you can. I'm a pretty extroverted individual. And I say I have the opposite of, like, I could get in front of anybody and everyone hated me. So, like we all have our burden. Like, we all have our burden to bear, and unfortunately,
I
like,
have a visceral dislike for this person.
Who is this? I can remember your name.
so I think that's true. Do you, JD? Do you find that is one of the biggest things when you're trying to find, like, working with clients, that, like, because you must have some option, and Bobby, I'd like you to speak to this too, of, like, the kind of projects that you take on. Do you factor that into account when you talk to someone?
The worst part, Russell, is that the hiring guys don't operate under the same rules.
Right.
Right? So they can be as jerk as they want,
That
because
is
they're
true.
holding the check, and as the person on the receiving end, you can't be that way, because
The problem is that
unfortunately
also
it's not a two-way street.
the problem is also that I try to stay humble when I deal with clients, or when somebody commissions me to do work, or contracts me to do a comic book. I try to stay humble, and I try to stay at a certain level where we both can communicate and we both can get things across. Unfortunately, you do have some of these artists out there that people, their family, their friends, they feed into their ego. Oh, you're the greatest artist. They go around thinking, oh, I'm the greatest artist. Dave, I don't need you, Dave. I'm okay. I'm the greatest artist. And yet when they go out there into the real world, if Dave's willing to give them a shout out, or, I'll give you an opportunity. Well, Dave, I can get more money from, and unfortunately, that's a problem with us artists. And when I talk to some artists, when I talk to a few, and they come up to me and say, hey, what kind of advice can you give me? I always tell them, look, stay humble, continue to love your art, make good connections, and the people that you deal with at the conventions, remember, those are going to be possibly your fans in the future. So treat them the way you would want to be treated also, because I've had some dealings with some artists as a collector. I'm also a collector too. I've had some issues with some artists in the past, like Dave, I'm not going to mention any names, where I'll tell them, yeah, I'll like this, like that. Well, okay, well, what do you want? And it's like, well, I would like to do a commission. Well, I'm busy right now, so no. And it's like, they're very blunt like that, and you shouldn't be like that. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm committed to other stuff. Please check back with me later. I mean, there's ways of handling stuff. That's either with the clients or with big-time publishers.
Yeah, I mean, I see often when, like, a lot of people tell me, I do like 40 or 50 cons a year, like, as far as an exhibitor, and a lot of people tell me that, one of the reasons they come back is because just simply niceness. Like,
Exactly.
like, I've heard so many times that someone has gotten a bad opinion of someone they followed for a very long time because they weren't nice at a con. Bobby, you had something to say during this.
Yeah, I found it very interesting that you're talking about the artist who's like, oh yeah, I'm the best, man, I don't need you. Because for me, my struggle when I was first starting out was the opposite of that. Because I'd see all these great artists and be like, man, I suck. And I didn't want to show
By the
anyone
way,
my work.
Bobby does not suck.
Thank you.
Just saying.
Yeah, I had to learn that I have to not apologize for my work. And when I catch people doing that, I always correct them on that. And just give people the opportunity to form their own opinion on it. And then I found that people tended to like it after all. So you just...
You're still doing it, after all.
Well, the thing is, I think...
It's a hard lesson to learn. Just like a jerk can't stop being a jerk. And
Yeah.
Well, do
like
you
me-
think... One of the things that I think stops a lot of artists is this idea that you have to be the artist for everybody. Like, if one person doesn't like your work, then it denies, like, it almost, like, nullifies 100 people not, like, actually liking it. So one of the hardest things, as I talked with most artists, is to just understand that if one person says no, that doesn't mean that your work sucks. It just means it's not for that person. I do very specific niche books. I know they're not for everybody, and that's okay. So,
Like that guy who's like, I don't like zombies.
yeah, that's fine. And he still bought the book.
Oh, did he?
Still bought the book. Because I was like, what, do you like monsters or other things? So you guys both have very specific styles, and I know, Dave, you work with people that have a lot of specific styles. So can we talk a little bit about how you kind of got over the fact that 99% of people are not going to like what you do? Maybe not 99%, but most people aren't going to like what you do. Bobby, can you start with you?
That's a hard one because I think as an artist you put so much effort and you put so much of yourself into the art that it almost feels natural to be personally offended when people don't like it. But I think you just got to develop a tough skin somehow, and I don't really have an answer for this, how to do that.
Did it come from going to cons a lot, or did it come from showing your work, or
you know what,
just over time?
Yeah, it's a rejection thing, right? You deal with the rejection enough times, and you get to be like, oh well, and
right.
You move on. It loses its sting after a while. So I think it's a time and repetition thing.
Right. And JD, you have a very specific style. Like, your thing resonates very well with me, but I would assume that it's a very honed niche style where, like, people either love it or they, like, don't respond to it. How do you deal with that?
No, well, when they come up to me and they look at my stuff, whether it's other colleagues or artists or collectors or just fans of the art, I don't know. I mean, I just go with whatever I feel, and I'll start drawing. Well, one of my inspirations right now, I would say, is Sam Keith. Love that guy's work. I mean, it's dirty, it's scratchy, but it's just awesome. It speaks, in other words, to me, and I just love that style. That's the style I want to try to stay with. But I can't just stay with that style. I have to eventually evolve. I mean, because I don't want to be known as a Sam Keith knockoff. I want to step up. I want to bring my own style into that. And at the same time, my style changes from cartoons to pencil realism to scratchy art to comic book. I try to throw a little bit of everything out there.
Everything feels very much like you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's very much a you take on cartoony or on scratchy.
But the thing is, it's like, I mean, you're saying, it's good if you stick to one style because then you're known as that style. That's fine. But also you have to, like, branch out to, like, different styles, different other styles. So that way, this guy might like this and she might not, but then he might like something if he turns the page. I try to keep different varieties available.
Right.
I don't try to. I've been told a few times, man, you're all over the place. Cartoons. I said, yeah, but it helps. And they said, no, that's good. We're not saying it's bad. So I mean, as an artist, I just try to experiment in everything: inks, pencils, watercolors, acrylics. I want to try everything to try to incorporate into my style.
And what about you, Dave? Do you prefer, when you're talking to an artist or when you're looking at an artist to hire them, are you looking for someone that can be sort of ambidextrous or all over the place with their style, or are you looking for someone who, like, nails one specific thing, or is it dependent on the book itself?
I think the writing and the editorial dictates art style. I mean, 100%. Clearly, I like to see guys that are capable of doing more than one thing because it means I can build a longer-term relationship with them. But I still need them to do a particular thing on a particular book or approximate a particular thing on a particular book. Yeah, the writing and the nature, the tone of the IP absolutely dictates artist and style.
Right.
And, the look of the art, I think.
So one of the things, I have a follow-up to that, is one of the things that I know a lot of artists struggle with is when they meet with a publisher and that publisher doesn't hire them, but they give them encouraging notes.
Right.
Or they say, this is not right now, but we do keep like you guys on file for the beginning? How important is developing the relationship over a long period of time before you're hiring somebody to do a book?
Whew. That's a weird process because there's lots of guys that I like their work that I have not been able to find, and I'm upfront with them. I was like, look, I love this. For me personally, this trips my trigger. I'm in. I got nothing that your artwork's gonna be appropriate for, and there's no point in putting your artwork on something that, it's no point in trying to force the editorial together, because it's not gonna sell, and then we're all gonna, whatever investment I've got is gonna get lost. Your time is gonna be squandered, and the opportunity cost, if you go and work on something good, is gonna get wasted. So all of those are bad outcomes. What was the rest of your question?
No, how important is developing the relationship over a period of time before you hire somebody?
Right.
Or do you often hire them just from first look alone?
As a publisher, I really don't want to see new samples more than a couple times, 3 times a year. Certainly 4 times a year is too much. But we absolutely do put stuff, and we file it away. I know IDW's got an extensive system for keeping track of guys that would be appropriate for particular art styles, and they get filed into a database, and the editors can actually go, I need something Swamp Thingy, and they hit a button, and all the Swamp Thingy guys in their database come up, and they can just look at them. So I'm having a good. Swamp Thing is a bad reference, but you get the point, right?
Yeah.
And Space Goat has got something similar for the guys that we represent. You have to, because when the job comes in, and that's the weird thing, is that artists think that publishers have got this really good scientific way of picking guys. It ain't like that at all. Because you can go from an unfunded project in the morning that doesn't exist to a fully funded project that the script is half written and you are desperately need 10 artists in the afternoon.
Right.
And if you don't have both the existing relationships and the database to reach out to the artists that might be available, then you're in trouble.
Okay, I want to go with...
Got a good answer?
Yes, it was a great answer.
That's a great answer. And I have, from personal experience, I can say that does actually play out, that we'll let you know thing, like when you hand in samples. Like I handed in my Simpsons sample pages, and then they're like, yeah, your sample pages look great. We'll call you if we have any work. And then 3 years later, like I thought that boat had sailed. 3 years later, they call me up and they're like, hey, are you available to draw some Simpsons pages? I'm like, yeah. So that does happen.
I will say that for myself, as a very small publisher who does maybe 1 book a year, it is all about the relationship and seeing someone who is consistently turning out their own work and turning out the kind of work that I think is my style is very kind of like specific to like cartoony yet still horrific. So
very popular style these days. Jump right in.
It's so I know I have hundreds of artists, like both of the 2 people on this panel who are artists are on that list of people who I'd love to work with, and unless I'm doing an anthology, I'm probably never going to work with them.
And why am I just hearing this now?
About the anthology?
No, about do you want to work with me? I didn't know that. Come on, man.
That's good information.
It's okay. So if you're a friend of mine on my Facebook feed, I'm probably friends with you for a reason.
Right on. Cool deal.
Probably because I respect your work or like it. But again, like it has to be right. I have to have the funded project or the almost funded project. It has to be in my next schedule, and I have to see that you're putting out the right kind of work before I pull a trigger. And I think I'm just a small microcosm of that large microcosm. So, do you have anything to add to that before I do first round of questions?
No.
Okay. So
I do. Uh-oh. He's hit on something very important, and a lot of people sometimes don't couch it this way. But what often gets overlooked is the element of trust, right? If you're going to be an artist dangling on the edge of some publisher's last check coming off the print run, there's an element of trust there that you have to establish a relationship with those people at the other end of the phone, or the people that you know in person, and they have to trust you, because they can't do it without you or someone like you. And if you're the one that helps them get through the day, if you're the one they can trust to deliver when they need something delivered, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, for me,
guys, don't forget it.
Yeah, for me, I do graphic novels, which means if I don't trust you that you're gonna finish that book, like, I can't change you issue to issue. Like, if I change issue to issue, that means I have to scrape everything else. Like, you can't do a graphic novel with 7 artists unless it's sort of like Monster Elementary or something like that. So I have to know that you're going to deliver the entire book or something. Like, I'm doing a graphic novel now, and I know Nick is going to listen to this, but he's the artist. He also does our B, and he got an issue with his drawing hand. He had to take a month and a half off, roughly a month and a half off, because, like, he got tendonitis or whatever. I don't know the exact terminology, but he couldn't draw for a month and a half. And I had to, he trusted me enough to come to me and not just go away and say, hey, this really sucks. I know I promised I would deliver on X day. I'm going to deliver on Y day. And recently he then came back and said, hey, like, thank you for trusting me. And now he's delivering pages again. And he's actually moved. He said, look, I want to, like, own this with you instead of, like, get paid. Like, I trust you enough that this project's going to be there that I want to co-own it with you instead of get paid as an artist. And, like, that is the kind of trust that you build not on day one, over, like, long periods of time working with somebody.
Well, trust, and then also, I mean, from what I'm gathering from you and Dave, is communication. If there's no communication, the project will get lost, you know, somewhere in limbo, because then you guys aren't communicating, or no, I don't have time to do this, or I'm going to be late on a page, or if the publisher or the writer needs to make sure that they give the artist enough time. Hey, my deadline's going to be September 15th. I need it, and you know, if you got enough time, there shouldn't be any excuses. But if it's like September 13th, oh, I need it, then you know you got to give a little bit. You got to take a little bit on either end.
Yeah, for me, it's the hardest thing when you're in this position is to tell people you fucked up.
Yeah.
But it is also the most powerful thing, because we all know, I don't know, Dave, you can talk about this, is I know that it's not, or we can all talk about this, like, the checks
get, like, spend a lot of time talking about my screw-ups, but okay, Russell,
no, but
that's what
like,
you want.
for me, like I know that art is going to take longer. Like, you think that 20 pages is going to take 6 weeks, and like you spend 3 days on one big page, or your hand gets hurt, or your mom gets sick. There are things that come up in the course of life, or your book that was supposed to be in from China in July didn't come in until 3 days ago, like this thing. Like, there are things that are mitigating circumstances that most people go, oh God, I can't tell them that, or they're not going to want a book.
But let's remember also that on the artist part, you know, like Dave can say, okay, I got a script, it's awesome, and he'll send it to me, and I'll look it over. And panel number 1, the figure will look at the camera, meanwhile turning over to this person, raising their hand and making sure
Right.
that they're you know what I'm talking about, Dave, right?
Right.
I mean, some of the writers,
I wish I didn't.
They want all of the action in one panel, and you have to keep in mind the panel's going to be looking over to the side, then looking at the door. It's the next panel, then making sure that you can't do 5 actions in one panel. Then that's when the artist will step in and say, Russell, you know what? I can't do this. Let's shorten it down to this. And it's up to the publisher or the writer to say, yes, we can shorten it down, or no, I want. If you can't draw that multiple actions in one panel, that's going to make it difficult too on the artist's part.
Yeah, that's
Right.
bad. That's bad editing.
Yeah. But that is that trust factor where you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because if you can trust each other, that you're all working for the same positive best goal at the end. Mm-hmm. Most people have this adversarial relationship with, like, it's me, I'm the artist, against the writer or the publisher or the fans. But if we can all just agree that, like, we're looking for the best product, and yeah, we may say things the wrong way, or a book may be late, or whatever the thing is, if we can just agree that we're all underneath good people searching for getting the right thing out there, I think a lot of this, you know, failure to communicate and lack of trust is built. Bobby, can you talk to that? You haven't said anything in a while.
I collaborate with my own twin brother, so that pretty makes it pretty easy as far as trust and communication goes. I will often tweak his scripts and change them up without telling him, and he's fine with that because he trusts me.
Trust, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, if he says, like, I have 6 panels here and this is happening, and I'm like, it's I think we can do that in 5, or I think we could, and then have room for a cool splash, then like go for it.
All right. So one of the things that makes publishing easier for me is if I can trust the artist, I can send them a script and say, like, just make it function, and like know that they're gonna come back, and even if it's not perfectly written, it will still function very well, is invaluable to me as a publisher myself. Dave, can you speak to that? Is that important to you? If you can like have that guy on a tight deadline you can just throw stuff to and know it's going to come back, like how important does that factor in when you're hiring an artist?
That kind of thing generally gets tied almost exclusively, in my experience, with guys that have had a lot of experience. Like if you've drawn a lot of comic books, you know how those problems crop up. You know how to solve them. You know how to deal with an editor in terms of which ones you can sort of get away with and which ones you can't. So I hope that sort of answers the question. Yeah. But it's mostly a matter of experience in terms of the artist. If you've got a relatively new artist, then you have to make certain either schedule or other allocations to make sure that whatever problems they encounter don't mess up your publishing schedule.
Right.
I know with my first book, they were really interested to hear that I had worked for years in storyboards, because they're like, oh, okay, that means he can hit a deadline, and that was important to them.
Right. So before I ask my next question, I want to break for a second and see if anyone has questions out there, because we've got about half the time left. If anyone's got a question that you're dying to answer, anybody?
I might have more of a comment. I found when I was smaller, when I started younger, collecting comics, about the art. Because that's what piques our interest when we're young. It's about the visuals. I found the older I am, especially now, it's about the writer, and the artist collaborating. And then even more often, I spoke to you earlier today.
Yes.
It's not just about the writer. It's not just about the artist. The colorist, the
inker,
the line, the inker.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of
even the lettering.
Yeah.
And the lettering as well. It's not an individual medium. You need to work with a team.
Yeah.
You
Right.
have to.
Exactly. And I think
So
trust.
I just kind of find it hard or strange that there's so many, egos, per se.
I think that, I haven't been around for 30 years like Dave has, but it feels like...
Thanks. Let me pull that knife out of my back.
But it feels like the ego thing, like since I got started, ego hasn't been a thing because it was very apparent.
Money, but nobody's making any money, so the egos are starting
but
to erode pretty fast.
But there are stories of people that had huge egos in movies, television, comics 10, 20 years ago before you could see everyone's life. Feels like the ability to be successful with an ego now is a lot harder because you have instant access to people. Like if I don't have instant access to an artist, it's very hard for me. All artists that I work with, I'm Facebook friends with. I have their Twitter. Like I know what they're doing, and so there are a lot of stories of editors calling out their artists when they see them at a con and their page is late.
The PlayStation guy.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example right
Yeah.
So there was a editor, I think it was Dark Horse, who saw one of his artists sitting at a con drawing, but he wasn't drawing their book, and his was late on pages, and he on Twitter was like, so if you're late on your pages, you probably shouldn't be at a con.
I remember that one.
So like I think that, I don't know, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but it feels like, for me, it's never been an issue with ego because I see their ego all day, every day on my social media feeds, whereas you could hide earlier. What do you think about that, Dave?
Transparency.
Well, it still comes down to trust, I think, but a lot of it is core character stuff because if you're talking about how you have to be able to work within a team, and the one guy falling off the team or not getting the team into trouble, it's the editor's job is to fix that. So a lot of times when you hear these horror stories about artists or writers or whatever getting kicked to the curb, it's because the editors can't tell you the real story. There's no upside in the media to criticizing an artist or a writer for any reason by the publisher. But I can tell you, there's at least as many stories about artists screwing over their publisher as there are stories about publishers screwing over their artists.
Right. Okay.
So my advice would be don't screw people over.
Yeah, I mean, be honest and be upfront. But I think that a lot of the time when stuff falls off, it's just life, you know. So if you're not acting like a jerk in private, you're probably not acting like a jerk in public, and you're probably keeping your job.
All right.
But if you're being a jerk and not doing your work when you're supposed to, and then lying about it, then the ball's rolling downhill the other way. That's all.
I think that's I had a thing, but then it just flew out of my head. So
I had one of those too.
So you have a question?
I do. Two things. I gotta remember the other one. One of them is this the only job you do, or do you have second jobs? And I forgot the other one.
That's okay. Let's answer quickly down the row.
I do, well, I work in construction, so I'm an artist. I like to draw, but I'm also in construction also.
Okay. This is my job, and I own a Verizon dealership too.
Okay.
This is, I guess this is my one job, but it's also many jobs because I'm drawing comics and storyboards, and now I'm working on a cartoon. So.
Nice.
All right, Dave.
My wife makes a shitload of money.
Yay! Living the dream.
Good man, Dave. Good man.
Yeah, that's
I'm
great.
I'm not alone.
Is she in the industry?
I have a sugar mama also.
Oh no. There's nobody making that much money in this business. I'm not telling.
Okay, so that's 3 or 4. I have, this is my full-time job too, but like I also have a wife who does very well. So like, it's very, and
I see where this goes.
I do think.
So marry up.
Yeah. So if I could give one advice, so my question to everybody is going to be the first question that I told these two before we came into this panel, which is, if you could go back in time and tell yourself one piece of advice which will cut a year or more off of your struggle. Because there's a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. There's going to be ups, downs, valleys, peaks. Sometimes you're going to feel like you own the world, and some days you're going to, literally like an hour later, you're going to feel like you have no idea what you're doing. That is not, like, so just working hard is not like an answer you can give. What I want to know is, what would you tell yourself to just cut the maximum amount of time out, assuming that we're still going to all work hard? And mine would be, marry up.
Really?
This guy.
Like, yes, because you are the average of the 5 people you are around the most. And I used to be around people who were less creative or less driven, and it made me less creative and less driven.
Oh, interesting.
Now, most of the people that I hang out with are at cons or after cons or on some level that I talk to online, or other creators working towards a dream. And my wife is very driven herself, working towards a dream. And now I find, hell, I'm way, way, way more productive because I'm fueled by other people who don't see stagnation as an option. They see you must move forward, and you see them moving forward, and you're like, shit, how am I going to show myself at the next con if like I don't have something awesome or I haven't moved myself along? So let's start with Dave and then work this way as far as
God, what's the question?
what advice? So
Yes. Answering that.
what advice would you give yourself to cut a year or more off of the struggle to get where you are now?
Cut 1 year after 32 years, nothing.
Well,
It's not worth the effort.
3 years, 5 years. Or somebody else. What would you tell somebody else, assuming there's going to be hard work and struggle, to just let them jump a grade? Level up 5 times, however you want to say it. Maybe I'll come to you.
Don't let fear hold you back from doing the networking that you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all.
Still learning that one.
Talk to everybody that'll talk to you. Show your artwork to everybody that'll listen. Just talk to them and be nice, because 90% of them are happy to be nice back. You can't underestimate the power of networking. Like it says, talking to people that are going places.
Right.
And if you end up hanging out with a bunch of people that are just bitching about where they're at, that doesn't have a lot of value.
All right. Bobby?
Having a portfolio is nice, but I wish I had self-published earlier and more often, because I spent a lot of time drawing pages just for a portfolio. But I think it's better to just make a book. And technology these days is advanced to the point where anyone can make a book. You can have it printed on demand. If you have $20 in your pocket, you can have like 10 copies of a book made. And I think that, instead of just seeing a couple of pages, now you're showing your ability to do long-form stories, your ability to finish projects, and the added benefit is the more books you work on, the better you get. So I wish I had self-published earlier and more often.
And do you think that it puts you at a different level when you talk to publishers, because now you're talking to them
Absolutely.
more like an equal?
Yeah, instead of, hey, I want to break in and I have this portfolio, it's more like, hey, look at these books I drew. I'm already in.
Okay. Dave, do you have something else to say?
I do have something to add to this discussion, Russell, if that's okay.
That was fine.
I'm sorry, I'm smart enough now. But Bobby is 100% right, and the thing that he didn't say that's really important from the buying artwork side of the business is there are editors who are under strict guidelines to not look at portfolios if your portfolio is full of stuff they don't recognize. So Marvel editors can look at Star Wars and Batman pages, but if it's the thing you created, they can't even look.
Oh,
under lawyers, under the rules that the lawyers set down.
Really?
So, but if you've published it, if you can hand the book to them, then they can.
Because it's been published already.
Right. Yes.
Publish a sketch
You can do that if you like. But I'm just saying, some of this stuff is not as obvious as it seems until you find out the rules and the goofiness behind it.
Right. Okay.
So books are better than portfolios for a lot of different reasons. Bobby's reason and my reason and probably a couple more.
Yes. And it sets you apart. The other way is it sets you apart from everybody else if you have a book on your table. For instance, very quickly, I'm going to come to JD in a second, but how many people have a finished hardcover book on their table and how many have multiple? Like, this is strategically done to separate myself from other people and give an awesome book in the process. So like, it is about setting yourself apart, and putting a book in front of somebody is much more impressive because it shows you know how to print and your stuff looks good in print and you've had all of those thoughts on top of just having a sketchbook. JD, your answer to this question.
You guys said it all. I mean, you guys said it all. But also networking. I mean, like you said, hang around energetic people that have ideas, people that are creative, people that are like, yes, that you should do this. Yes, you should do. Because if you hang out with a person enough time, why do you want to do that for? No, don't do that. That's not gonna. You're gonna eventually get that mentality. Unfortunately, that's a group. That's what's it called? Not an instinct, but
Groupthink?
Negativity thinking that. Bless you. It's gonna affect you, and if it affects you, then you're basically not gonna not want to do stuff. But network with the right people. If you can go to school, don't be like Dave said. Don't be afraid. Venture into different stuff. If you don't know how to do, let's say if you do pencils, if you don't know how to do inks, copy. It's okay to copy as long as you give the person, like if I'm going to copy Bobby's stuff, as long as I say, after Bobby or inspired by Bobby's art, give them that credit. Then they can't say, oh, well, you're copying. No, he knows that. We're good like that.
And especially if you don't, you don't sell it.
Yeah.
You don't sell it and you give the credit, there's nowhere really for him to go.
Yeah. But I mean, it's it's networking. I mean, meeting the right people, talking to the right people. Like Dave said, being nice to the right people. I mean, this gentleman up here that I was talking to earlier. I mean, I don't know. He could have been the director of Walt Disney. I don't know. I mean, and the way I am with him is the way I'll be with everyone else. Just talk to them. You need advice? Come talk to me. Last week I was at another convention. I was talking to a young lady. She introduced me to her daughter, and I was talking to her daughter because she loves art, but she loves art, but she was real shy. So I was telling her, this is the type of markers, this is the type of this one. We conversed for, I want to say, like 30 minutes, till I finally found out that she's also in a company that's going to be producing an event in the future that I was looking to get into. Yeah, she put in a good word for me, and the promoter actually, when I met with him, he's like, yeah, I heard about you from this thing. Things worked out just fine. So you can't be standoffish, or you can't be like, no, I'm busy right now. If you're not going to buy anything, you need to leave. Can't be like that. And unfortunately, there are people like that. I mean, it's the saying, what's the saying? Don't ever meet your heroes.
Right. Well, you're wrong about that, JD. Thank goodness there's people like that, because those people are easy to compete with. They're easy to beat in the long run.
That's true.
So thank goodness there's jerks, because the rest of us profit from it.
Yeah, it's the. I totally.
You're right. I'll take that. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Right, Bobby?
Yeah.
That's right.
Having
Back to those guys. We're gonna win this race.
I mean, I am negative as a bad word. Very bad. Like, there's a very few people who have ever met who have as pessimistic an attitude on life as me, and unfortunately, that doesn't get you very far.
No.
Like, there are mindset things that you can do to get it past the ability to talk to people. If you're having a problem, because I know a lot of people, I want to ask you to raise your hand, the biggest part of the biggest reason that they are an artist, besides the fact that they can draw, is it allows them to get lost in their mind and not communicate with the outside world. And unfortunately for all of us, or fortunately, like, in order to succeed, you must interact with the outside world.
That's where the money comes from.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Like,
that's where the money comes
most of the people in this room, I would imagine, I recognize most of you have talked to me at my table, or JD, or Bobby, or Dave, or at some level will talk to us this weekend. And just by us being here, like, we have an hour of your undivided attention, maybe somewhat divided attention, some of you over there. Oh. Some undivided, but we're
not going to point fingers. We're not going to point fingers.
So you have chosen to come to us. So we have taken an hour away from our booth to impart advice to you, which sets us, again, to talk about setting us apart as far as, like, hey, who would you rather buy from? Would you buy from someone who's, like, mean to you at a table, or doesn't acknowledge that you exist or that you're important? Or would you spend your hard-earned money and want to invest in somebody who has now invested in you first, who's now given before they've ever, and they're with no expectation? I mean, I don't think anyone on this thing expects anyone to follow them to their booth and spend $20 at their table.
I mean,
but
if you want.
Well,
that would be nice. That would be nice, but
You'll be criticized for it.
But there is a principle, and I want to make sure we have time for a couple of questions. There's a principle in business, which is value. Provide value before you ever ask anything, and honestly, 10 times the value that you would ever ask someone to pay for something. And that doesn't necessarily work as a one-to-one relationship. Like, I can't give you $200 of value and expect you to come back and spend $20 with me. But if you come with a value-first mentality instead of a sales-first, which is how most people that exist in the sales world work, not just in comics, but in all sales, their interactions begin and ends when you hand them $20. It's all they care about. And in order to set yourself apart from those people, if you work from the flip side of that, which is, I'm going to give you just everything. I'm going to give my best stuff away for free. I'm gonna delude you with as much stuff as possible and treat you as a human being instead of a $20 bill. You may not make $20 from the people that you may not make anything from this in the room, but because you have given that value out, it does come back on some level, because Can you guys speak to that? So,
Well, I have
JD
some-
seems like you have something to say
No,
about
I do
that.
have something to add with that. It's. I mean, just keep in mind, folks, that we are artists, and it's like there's been times where I'll draw something. It'll take me 5-6 hours. You know, maybe a little bit of time. That takes away time from my wife, or my, you know, I don't have kids, but my little dog or whatever. Keep in mind, guys, that if we say like, oh, you know, I have this for $25. Well, I'll buy 5 of them for $5 each. That hurts. You know, some people don't understand that hurts a lot. You know, because we you know, well, you're just drawing. It's fun to draw. Okay, cool. Here's a paper. Here's a pen. Show me how fun it is. You know, it hurts us in our hearts because, I mean, we are drawing. Yes, we're drawing, and it's fun for us and whatever. But it's also work, and it's a talent that we've done. You know, like in Bobby's. How long have you been? I've been drawing since I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, since I was in kindergarten. I guess. I don't know.
You know, and we've perfected our art. Whatever we've done, it takes us time. And if we're overcharging or whatever, that's fine. Then maybe you need to go talk to the higher up comic book artists or whatever. And you know, if they're going to charge you about $1,000 and up. I mean, there's been a few, but you know, just, you know, if you're a repeat customer, I see you at this convention, I see you at the next one, and you're buying, you know, next one, hey dude, I remember you from the, you know, here, take it for an extra -10 or whatever. We'll let us offer that discount, and we're not going to be like, well, you know, draw a stick figure, okay, $500, who wants it? We're not going to do that to you guys. I mean,
Stanley.
Exactly. No,
Well,
but
I will say that the best way I've ever found to get advice or to show that you value the advice of somebody is, I used to have a saying, still do, $20 gets you 5 minutes of my undivided attention. Like, if you have gotten a lot of value from somebody, the best way to show that you respect them is to buy a book from their table. And here's why it's good for you too, because you've just gotten maybe 5 pieces of good advice from somebody, or advice. You kind of want to see if it's good advice, right? Like, you kind of want to see if they actually know what they're doing by putting a good book out. So that's that's literally just market research. Like, it makes sense if you've spent 5 to 10 minutes with somebody to buy something from their table to see if they actually know what they're talking about. But also, it shows that you value the information, and you will make a lot more connections. I used to go to cons and just bring $200. It's a lot of money, I know. But I would literally, if someone gave me advice, I would take a card, I'd give them $20, I'd get us some advice, and then I would make connections that way, because it showed that I valued their attention. Bobby, what do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea.
When people come to my table and they say, and I don't remember them, I say, oh crap, did you buy something last con? They're like, no. And I'm like, then I don't feel that bad. I still feel a little bad, but like, if you've gone to the trouble of like actually buying a book, I actually feel really bad, as opposed to just minorly bad, because now we're invested in the same struggle together. Like, we're invested in creating cool stuff.
I remember the people that keep coming back to me.
Right.
And you know, I always give them a little extra, because you know, I really value my fans. Like, we were talking earlier about like, how do you deal with people who don't like your work. It's the people that do like your work that makes that tolerable. You know, they make it all worthwhile.
And you get punched in the mouth for like a whole day, and then you see someone who comes to your table, and it's happened before, and it's like, what's new? And you're like, all of these, and they're like, just give them all to me. It's like, okay, you can get a bundle. They're like, no, just give me whatever the price is, and you just want to go and hug that person, because you're like, you understand. Like, it's been such a struggle. Like, I've been banging my head against the wall and there's one more thing I want to make sure. Does anyone have a question? All right, because I want to talk about one thing. Oh, there. Go ahead. Thank you.
I do have something to add to that, though. But,
Okay.
but if you see someone like, I mean, like this gentleman here that I was talking to earlier, follow me on Instagram. And I'm not saying directly that you, but follow us on Instagram. Like our stuff. I mean, you know, if you can, if you follow me on Facebook and you see something like, cool, repost it. I mean, you know, maybe your friend might like it, and you don't even know. Oh, I saw this great art. Oh, I wish you would tag me. Well, what was the guy's name? South Korea. You know, I mean, tag us, mention us, share the stuff. You know, Bobby stuff if you like it. You know, just help get our names out there.
Right, but there's a reason for this, which is good for you. That's awesome advice if you like some, but there's a reason that this is for you, which goes into the last point that I want to make, which is the more often you have touch points with somebody, the better connection you have with them. So if you want to be a professional artist and you interact with professional artists, not on a look at my portfolio or like buy my thing, just as a personal level of this is cool, hey, JD, I saw this cool thing, I thought you, whatever the thing is, the more you can treat people as a human being, as like how you would treat a friend at a cocktail party, the more successful you will be on your side, because now we remember you. You've come to a lot of cons. Yes, sir.
And as the really old geezer at the table, let me tell you, for me personally, what he just said is the most rewarding part about having a 32-year career. The people that I've made friends with, and the people I continue to make friends with, because Bobby and I have been friends for less than a year. We're good friends, aren't we, Bobby?
Yeah, we're tight.
Good professional friends.
Like this.
So, no, don't start. See, I had to go there. But for me, the most rewarding things are the friendships I've made. I got to be friends with Jack Kirby. I got to be friends with Will Eisner. I'm friends with Walter Simonson. I mean, I'm giving myself chills. I mean, I grew up on a farm where we didn't have heat in the house. We burned old pallets to warm the house in Minnesota in the middle of the winter. And I got to be friends with Walter Simonson. You got to be kidding me.
The king, Jack Kirby.
Yes. So
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so
Those personal relationships aren't just marketing.
Right.
It's what you're going to value at the end of the day, at the end of your career, in the middle of your career. That's the stuff it's going to end up having the value.
Norm Rapman. I mean, the guy that's in the corner, the inker.
Isn't he great?
Yeah, he's awesome,
God,
dude.
I love that guy.
I mean, I cut it up with him at every convention. Every time I see him. Yeah. Every time I see him.
And it's because but that doesn't happen the first time, right?
No.
Like it doesn't. You're never gonna find one person and the first time you meet them, whether it's your best friend or like your wife or your daughter. It doesn't matter. Like the first time you meet somebody is not that. I mean, it is important, but like the first impressions matter. But what matters is you continue to show up. And one reason for me why that is important is there's a lot of people that want to do this. Everyone wants to do it. The people that actually break through and do it, and then to me it's like the 5-year mark. Like if you've been doing it 5 years, the people start falling off. They just like, and the people that keep going because you've seen them over and over again, like they become sort of like brothers, like a band of like, you're doing this crazy thing. Where you're doing this crazy thing together, and you've all been doing it long enough that like y'all aren't posers anymore. Like you're doing it and just literally showing up. There's a thing that's 80% of life is just showing up, and it's definitely true in 80% of success. Yeah. Quickly, agree, don't agree, and then where can we find you on the floor so that we can get out of here, and how can we find you online? You
can find me online. I'm on Facebook, JD Correa Sketch Art. You can find me on Instagram. I haven't done the Twitter because I don't want to get lost in Twitter. I have a hard enough time with Facebook and Instagram. I don't need Twitter either. I don't need a little bird chirping in my ear.
And what is your Instagram?
My Instagram is JD Correa Sketch Art.
And it's awesome.
How do you spell Korea?
It's Correa.
Okay.
And it's the initials JD Correa. You can find me in I'm in Artist Alley in the back with the other artists.
Yeah, he's right behind me.
I'm right behind him.
Okay.
So if you hear him, I'm right behind him.
You'll hear me.
You'll hear him.
Okay, Bobby.
So what was the question?
Like, where can we find you out there and online?
Online, twincomics.com has all the links to my Instagram and Twitter and all that. I have a new Facebook page that I put up this year because I'm really slow about these things.
What's it called? What's the website?
twincomics.com. On Instagram, I'm Bobby Timony. On Twitter, I'm B Timony.
And he is, if you go all the way to the back corner in the darkness in Artist Alley by the bathroom,
I don't know
he's
if
right
they
over
turn the
there.
lights on yet, but I'm in the dark.
All right, I don't know. And Dave, do you have a table here?
I don't know because I'm part of the organizing committee. So all day today I've been in this room, but I'm not hard to find, and I've certainly got a set of pipes that you can pretty much find me anywhere, anytime I open up my big yap.
Is there a Twitter or Facebook or besides Space Code?
At Dave Olbrich.
So that was Bobby Timony, JD Correa, and Dave Ulbrich talking about how to make a living as an artist. And since these are guys who've made a living as an artist and working with artists for many, many, many decades, I think it's pretty solid advice. I love that it pretty much just boils down to keep doing work and don't be a jerk. That's easy advice to follow. Don't be a dick and just keep practicing for a long time. If you like this episode, please, please, please go to iTunes or anywhere else you download your podcasts and subscribe. While you're there, rate us and review us. It takes less than 30 seconds and it helps more than you will ever know. Thanks a lot, wannabes and creators. I will see you next time.